So the first important thing in creating a successful business, and as studies have shown, is that uh, successful businesses tend to have great leadership. So what that means is that so when you talk about leadership, then you're talking about the ability to make decisions, to allocate resources, and basically to give back results. So there is this statement by Ferdinand Drucker where he says that the first question that a leader is supposed to ask themselves is, what results are expected of me? And Brian Tracy continues to advance that discussion and say that of all the possible set of results that you are supposed to deliver as a leader, which is the most important result? And so you want to focus on that. And so, what this immediately means is that when you are in charge of something, you don't want to be complaining about it, because that when you understand it, it becomes completely idiotic. So you can imagine someone who's complaining about stuff. Really, I mean, it's like it's like going down to the market and buying something that you don't like, and complaining that I really do not like this thing, and you are asked, then why did you buy it? And you're like, I don't know. So so basically you can't be complaining about something that you are in charge of, right? So if you don't like the thing, then change it, find a way to change it, find a way to tweak things and change that thing. Or if you can change it, then don't complain about it, right? So the second thing that is extremely important is that so you need to be solution oriented, right? So so what studies on billionaires has shown is that they have this incredible ability or trait whereby when things are in crisis, they move into a sort of a calm zone, so they calm down, so other people who are mediocre are complaining about, who did this, what is supposed to, who are we who is to blame for this. But successful entrepreneurs enter into a calm state and they ask themselves, so which is the solution? What is the next step that we can take, right? And so this is important. The reason why this trait is extremely essential is because when you are in a calm state, you sort of light up your thinking cap, right? So you can imagine that once you are in a state whereby you're thinking about problems and in a sort of a flight or fight state, then your focus is focusing on the kind of the old brain systems, right? And so these are the systems that control, whether you fight or flight, right? And so you don't move to this stage of advanced thinking, right? And and the more calm you are, the more you are able to think well, to think in a quality way, and to think straight, right? And so that is why studies have shown that workers who tend to do something like meditation tend to be more successful than people who do not meditate, because people who meditate are able to move into a sort of a calm state, and so they make better decisions, they make less mistakes. And so of course this is probably why, I mean, but this is just what I think. Uh, this is why I think there should be more research on things such as psychedelics. Like there should be more medical research on psychedelics, because and religion has known this for a while. So that's why, for example, we pray, right? And so in other places where they have some religious rituals, they will have things such as ayahuasca, where they perform rituals on you and, do things. And so they probably give you something that calms you down, and that enables you to enter into a state of thinking, right? And so, but those are my thoughts. But to continue on what I was talking about is that you are able to focus more if you are calm. So find a way, find a trick, find a way in which you can always be able to calm yourself, especially when you want to build something great, right? And so the other thing that's extremely important is so your success in business is going to be defined by whether you have a good product. And hear me out on this. So marketing has a place in business, right? So because I was listening to Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about one misconception that you have when you're building a business, and he was saying that you think that just by creating a good product, the product is going to sell itself. But he was saying that there is a process of marketing and selling, and that's an important aspect of business. But uh, um, as Elon Musk says, signal, not noise, right? So when you are creating a company, you really, really want to invest in creating a good product before you even think of marketing the product, right? And why am I saying this? So, in fact, the measure of a product is once someone consumes your product, how often do they go to someone and tell them, dude, this is a good product, right? I mean, like, for example, one of the reasons why you have a very successful company in Kenya, like something like Safaricom, is because they have good connection, right? And so you're gonna tell people, this connection is good, so I like this product, right? So the measure of a product basically is how many people can turn to someone and tell them this is a really good product, because then that spreads your word of mouth. And I think this is mentioned in the book the Contagious, where I think there is a place where it says that word of mouth is a very key contributor of uh, business growth, right? So spreading do people spread your product through word of mouth, right? So, and that of course happens if you produce a good product. So think in terms of the customer and ask yourself, as the customer, do I really enjoy this product, right? Because you can sort of try to con people to buying a popular product, a faulty product. But the thing is, I mean, especially in the internet age, everyone is going to talk about your product and say it's really bad, right? In fact, the best way to kill a bad product is to market it, yeah, because then people talk about how bad the product is, and so or fail to recommend your product to other people, and so the product dies. But then that of course brings in the importance of marketing, as I was saying, because by marketing your product, then you can know whether your product is faulty, right? And so you can make improvements because the product dies, right? You get so that brings in the importance of marketing, right? So the other thing I want to talk about, which is extremely important, is having a business plan. Now, and this is something I have personally experienced, especially if you're not doing a course or you've not done a course on business. It really becomes hard when you think about having a business plan, and it's something that you tend to fear and shun. But and of course I understand there is also this discussion, this recent discussion on business plans, where I was hearing Elon Musk talking, and he was saying that a lot of business plans tend to be wrong, right? And it's sort of wishful thinking. And there are a lot of people. Brian Tracy was also saying that there are a lot of businesses which are starting up without a business plan, right? So, but basically, me, I feel like you should understand what exactly a business plan entails, and like what is the basic structure of it, right? So what you need to do is think through on paper the critical aspects of your business. So these are things like, how much is it gonna cost? Something like, how do you make profits, right? So what kind of profits can you make, and then importantly, which people will you need? And this is important. And listen, so there is this story of Napoleon when he was conquering Europe. And so there's this story where his generals are around a table, and they have maps spread out across the table, and saying, we are going to attack this city this way, this is how we are going to maneuver our troops, this is where we are going to move, this is how we are going to move. And they had all these sorts of ideas on how the army is going to be successful. And so Napoleon comes in and asks them, what are you talking about? And so the generals tell him, we are thinking of doing this, we're thinking of doing this, we're thinking of doing this, this is how we'll attack, this is how we're going to move. But Napoleon told them, we don't have horses. And so there is this phrase you hear people talking about, where are the horses, right? And so this is where this phrase originated from. So you see, the thing with the army is that horses were extremely important to the success of the army, because that is what the cavalry was built upon. And also, horse-drawn carriages are what carried supplies for the army. They could kind of recruit people, because they had this policy of recruiting as they moved, whereby they have this thing: join the army, see the world. More like join the army, see the fighting and dying. but anyway, that's a bad joke. But they could sort of recruit people into the army. But horses were rare. Horses were hard to come by, right? And the success of the army was greatly influenced by its horses, right? And so what Napoleon told them is that we don't have horses. So, that is why you need to have a very important discussion on, I have this idea, right? I have this brilliant idea. And, for example, this has been important to me recently, because, I've been trying to come up with an organization of youths who are trying to, kind of solve problems within society. And anyway, I won't get into details about it, but one of the things that's becoming really critical to me is, how do I get the horses? So how do I get the right people? And I think I once heard Elon Musk again say that, when you're trying to build a successful business, it really boils down to picking the right people for it, right? So if you want to achieve a great cause, if there is something that great that you want to achieve, you need the right people, right? And so the second last thing, as I mentioned, was marketing, right? So marketing plays a very essential role in your business. And so when you think of marketing, what do you think of? So to give you an example, imagine you went to a place and said, it's lunchtime, who's hungry? And a bunch of people raised their hands, right? So you attracted the attention of the people by providing something that they could need, right? And so the next step becomes explaining to these people, why is it that you should consume my food and not consume that of the consumers, right? So you first of all need to get people who are interested, and then you need to convert those people from people who are interested to people who are consuming, right? And so this, of course, moves now to the sales process, right? And this is the last point, this is the last essential point which I wanted to talk about. So you need a systematic sales process, right? So this is a carefully structured system of how you communicate to someone who is interested, you've attracted their interest, and communicate why they need the product, and actually converting them into someone who purchases the product. So the sales itself, right? So the key here is that it needs to be a carefully structured process, right? So imagine that you have an organization or a company and you have 20 people who make phone calls and probably try to sell the ideas or sell the product to people, right? So you can decide to have a system whereby if your system is not organized, so these people just call people or communicate to people maybe through word of mouth or through telephone and try and tell them what they think, right? So everybody sells the way they think, right? But that will not make you successful. What you need is that these people need to have a carefully, probably written down system of the way they introduce the product to you, and they make you interested, introduce the product, and then convert you into a customer, right? And so of course there is a detailed there's a detailed discussion on the whole process of selling, the sale. And I feel that's also something that I should discuss later on in my videos, because I feel that I also need to educate myself more on that. But basically what the sales process is that you need to have a carefully structured system. So you say this, then you say this, then you say this, and you say this. You get, so it's structured, and studies have shown that when you do that, it turns your conversion rate from to how often you convert people who are interested to customers, by it can improve that conversion rate by 500%, right? So it really pays to have a carefully structured system of sale or of selling, right? Yeah, so basically that's all I had. If you really like what the topics that I'm talking about, comment below, consider subscribing and share, to your friends, Yeah, so peace out.